Hi, this is Palak Patel, and this is Cook With Us with Well+Good. I'm really excited to make one of my childhood favorite dishes, which is dal. I actually had dal growing up whenever I was sick, and it's just a very comforting, reminds me of home, reminds me of my mom. What I've decided to do is add extra vegetables to make it even more hearty for the winter. This month's star ingredients are cauliflower, sweet potato, and lentils. The dish is all made in one pot, no cleanup, no mess. So let's make dal. The first thing we're gonna do is heat up a little oil in a pot, our one pot blender. And I'm gonna flavor this oil with cumin seeds, whole cumin seeds. Traditionally, dal is made with whole cumin seeds because they have a lot of oil and flavor inside of the seed. And what happens is when you put it into a hot oil, it starts to perfume the entire pot of oil and anything that it cooks. And so that's why you want to work with raw whole spices. If you don't have cumin seeds, you can definitely use cumin powder. It's just very traditional to use whole cumin seeds, and that's how my mom did it. So once the oil is hot, you do want to make sure that the oil is hot, not smoking, because if they go into a cold pot of oil, they're just going to lay there. What you're wanting to hear is all the cumin seeds dancing in the oil. Then you know that it's releasing its flavor. All right, I think our oil is ready, and now I can see the seeds dancing, and you can even hear it. Makes a little very faint popping sound. Next, I'm going to add my onions to the oil mixture and a little bit of garlic. Give that a stir. Now, a trick to get your onions to start cooking quickly is as soon as you put them in the pan, hit it with a little bit of salt. And what the salt does is kind of breaks down the onions and makes them a little sweeter, cooks them faster. So as soon as you drop onions into any recipe, just a little salt and you're good to go. And once they cook down, it'll take about 5 to 7 minutes for them to become translucent. Then we're gonna go in with our tomato paste and cook out that raw tomato flavor. In this dish, I'm going to add a couple of traditional spices, starting with turmeric, which is an amazing anti-inflammatory. It's so good for you. Then for a little heat, I'm gonna put some cayenne pepper, some more cumin powder, coriander powder, which is just a seed from the cilantro plant, and then some paprika for that smokiness. Traditional dals will always have turmeric, cayenne, coriander, and cumin. So I'm going to put this in and then just cook them for about 10 seconds just to wake up all the flavors of the spices. In they go. It's already smelling amazing. Once you can smell them, then they're ready. On to our vegetables. So for the veggies, I'm gonna do some sweet potato, that's in season. I've got some colorful carrots because this looks like turmeric. And then I'm gonna use a orange or yellow cauliflower. This kind of matches the turmeric in the dish. It's just aesthetic. You can always use white cauliflower. So let's get our veggies in there. Just gonna cut one of the carrots. And because this dish is my version of a combination of a dal, a traditional dal, and then a stew. And the stew is because I've added a lot more vegetables than you would find in a traditional dal. I tend to think you can get your veggies any which way possible. So this checks off 4 vegetables. So I kind of feel like the hybrid in this instance works. Not traditional, but I think my mom would approve. And I'm cutting these carrots a little bit bigger because once the stew is done, I kind of want to see the vegetables in the bowl. So you don't want to cut them too small, and I want to cut them uniform, similar to the sweet potato, so they all cook at the same time. Let's talk about how you can cut your cauliflower. This looks pretty daunting, but it doesn't have to be. Once you get your cauliflower, the first thing to do is just to rip off these leaves and put them aside. Then all you're left with is that stem back here. And then all you're gonna do is cut the stem so that the cauliflower can sit steady. Every time you're cutting big vegetables, the key to that is to make sure they're steady and not rolling around on your cutting board. That's really dangerous. So let's get these things off. And then what I simply do is there's a little hole. I could just put my knife through and you can rotate the cauliflower. You can, once you get a little bit, you can even just rip it off with your hand. Steady. Now that this is steady and I can actually see inside the cauliflower, what I like to do is just start by taking one floret off, just like that, and then you can put it to the side. Now you have more space, so grab another one. It's like pruning the cauliflower. Get another one, and I think we only need about 3 for this recipe, so kind of just want the little nice small trees. I just rip it by hand because this is going to be a stew. I don't really need them to be super large. All right, so I'm going to put my cauliflower pieces in there. And notice that these pieces are a little bit bigger because cauliflower cooks much faster than the lentils and the sweet potato and carrots. So that's why those are bigger. They'll cook at the same time. And now for our lentils, I'm using 2 different types of lentils. I've got a brown lentil and a red lentil. The brown lentil is very sturdy, so once it cooks, it will still be able to retain its shape. And then the red lentil is the one that gets really nice and creamy, and that will be the sauce for this stew or dal. And so I like mixing the 2 textures together so that it kind of gives you this soup and stew feel all in one dish. And these are already cooked, so they can just go right in there. And then you've got your red. And lentils are packed with protein. This is such a great way to get your protein without the expense of meat. All right, and then I'm gonna put some water. I wanna make sure all of the vegetables and lentils are covered completely. And then I'm gonna close the lid. I'm gonna put a little bit of salt to start with, and then we're gonna season as we go because we don't wanna over salt the dish right now. So get that going, get everything mixed in. And close the lid. It's gonna go on simmer. And the last thing I'm gonna do is turn the heat off and add some spinach. And the reason I'm doing this off the heat is so that the spinach can be nice and green and vibrant. So you always want to do that at the end. Turning it off. Get a big pile of spinach. Come back here. And just kind of push it in. It will wilt by itself. And now I'm going to plate. This is the final product, and I can't wait to taste it. This bowl of lentils is like a blanket being wrapped around you on a really cold day. It's so comforting. And all the layers of spices just kind of come in like a symphony, one after another. And I love that it's loaded with vegetables. I just can't get enough. For the full recipe, you can check the description below and make sure you subscribe to Well+Good.